Good evening. Welcome to Space Oddities, here with you every Monday for astronomical news, chat, discussion, and whatever. Thank you so much for being here. I'm here. I'm Andy. I'm here as always with my illustrious, whatever they are, compatriots, colleagues, whatever, friends, certainly. So we're glad to be with you here again for another show of Space Oddities. And as usual, we've got quite a lot coming up in the program. So if it's your first time here, you are very welcome. We're here every Monday evening at 8 o'clock UK time, as I said. And thank you for joining us. And for those of you that are here on a regular basis, thank you so much again for being here. So we'll crack straight on. And as tradition dictates, we'll move straight over to Roger for his look at the night sky. What's up in the night sky, Roger?
Right. Okay. I'm unmuted. So here we are after a 2-week delay. I'm now back on, and I do have some other pictures to show you as well as the normal weekly reports. So let's crack on. Okay. So, oh, spoiler alert there. Okay. So what do we have? Right. First week of August already. So here we go. We're working our way up through the first quarter of the moon and onwards into the full moon next week, just when the Perseid meteors hits its peak, which is typical. Okay, so to be noting this, which will be from the 4th. There's the lunar V and the lunar X, which is also visible again this month. And that will be available to see from 8 o'clock Universal Time or 9 p.m. GMT. And if you've not spotted it or seen it before, then I'll just give you some indications on where to look for it on the Terminator. Okay, so the V is on the top half of the Terminator, and we've got the lunar X, which is on the bottom part, and it's quite interesting to see because there are other letters available that can be spotted with some knowledge anyway. So that's those. Here is the moon as it is as of a few hours ago. It's coming along nicely. Got some nice details there. And that was taking during the daytime. So I've used a infrared filter to darken out the sky somewhat considerably to highlight the details. Otherwise, it would be rather faint to see any details there. And last week we had the Southern Delta Aquariids. I think this might be one of them, although it was a bit cloudy and didn't show up too well. But last night I got this one, which is part of the Perseid meteors, which is will be hitting its peak around the full moon area about next week. So I was pleased to get an image out of all the 800 so pictures that I took last night. There was just this one through a brief spell of clear skies and got rather nice little green tail on the end of the image there.
Is that the Andromeda Galaxy?
I'm just going to show you a brief annotation of the skies there. Yes, you did spot the Andromeda Galaxy. You've got the summer triangle of Vega, Deneb and Altair there as well. And that was pointing it almost vertically up. So I was lucky just to get that spot in the middle of the frame pretty much, and not in between frames like I did for the previous image.
And Roger, you also have 2 really light streaks there. I presume they're satellites, right?
Yes, that is a satellite trail there. There's another one down here. I mean, if I were to process and show you all the pictures, I've got a little video clip here, and it shows you it's like Heathrow on a busy day with all the satellites going across. As everyone knows to their cost when they're trying to look at or photograph the images. Let me see if I can show this. I haven't tried this here with you just to see if it does get laggy. But this is from my garden of the Milky Way as it transits across, and you might see lots of streaks going across the sky here.
Wow.
Wow.
It just shows you how cluttered the night sky is absolutely getting covered. And this is just showing you one small area of the night sky. And that bright object there is Jupiter transiting across. And this was taken between 12:30 and 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So there we go.
Right, that's brilliant, that is, Roger.
Yeah, well done.
I'm quite lucky there.
Can I just want to add something about the satellite trails. When I was doing my research for my article last week, just to put the scene out there for everyone, 6,500 satellites were launched in the last 60 years. And then the next 5 to 10 years, the expectation or the forecast is that we're going to be launching 23,000 satellites.
Blimey.
So yeah, it's going fourfold, in less time than it took to launch all these thousands. So yeah, unfortunately, Roger, that's going to look more and more like Heathrow.
Absolutely right.
They did just announce that. Sorry, they did just announce that the Starlinks are finally getting the upgrade to reduce their reflectivity a little bit, so that it will affect us just a touch less.
Mm.
Can we just
we've just recently had some announcements that James Webb has spotted a supernova between 3 and 4 billion light years away. So not that very far, but it was able to detect it. And these are some of the initial images from that finding, which was a bit of a surprise. So it was, I think they were lucky to be pointing at the right direction when that item happened.
The image at bottom left shows you exactly what you should be looking at. It's that bright spot on the edge of that galaxy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are these two galaxies, the big galaxies, they actually interacting, are they?
It looks like it. In fact, it looks like there's 3 interactive galaxies there.
Yeah, the one up in the top left-hand corner.
But you know, this was just pure luck that Webb happened to be looking in this direction at the time that it spotted this supernova. So,
did they manage to say how big the star was when it went into supernova?
No, I don't think there's any.
I don't think they've found out too much information apart from just actually spotting it.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if it's the right kind of supernova, type 1A, you can get a distance to the galaxies that way.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, but also we've had some fresh images from James Webb of Jupiter, and these have come out somewhat interesting, I think. I assume that is the great red spot there down on the lower limb there. And
it's amazing the heat difference between that and the rest of the planet, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite striking. It's really bright in the infrared.
That was one of the things I noticed when they did the other images last week, is that the difference in the temperatures of all the different bands, made it really stand out. It was really fantastic.
You can even see the bright spots from the trailing storms along that same cloud band.
Yeah. Beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
It's quite a
So I don't know exactly what wavelength region these were taken in. I seem to remember 2 to 3 microns, something like that.
Yeah.
But presumably what we're seeing is seeing into different depths of Jupiter's atmosphere, where it is hotter or colder, warmer as you move your way down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
Okay, right. Now, here's the weekly update of what to expect in the wee hours of the morning of this week. And we've still got Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars visible, although they are gradually getting further and further away. Although now Saturn is now becoming visible before midnight in the UK, and obviously at a similar latitude over in America, I guess. So here we go. And Jupiter is getting quite well. But if you're interested in comets, we've got tomorrow night, we've got Mars and Uranus fairly close together, but a bit further over is Comet 107P Wilson-Harrington. And that might be of interest. It's only roughly about 10 miles in diameter, the actual core of the comet. But here's a planet of it coming through. But later in the week, around the 7th, it's near the Pleiades. So that could make a good photo opportunity. It's staying around the 7.2 magnitude. So it's not too bad to spot, but obviously because it'll be getting near the lighting up in the sky in the morning, it might become a bit of a difficult thing to spot, but an opportunity nevertheless. So that might be one for me to try and get hold of, clouds permitting. Okay, so here we are back in the southern hemispheres for anyone that's watching, and we've still got some of the winter constellations rising. Orion now coming almost completely clear of the horizon, and Saturn and Jupiter and Mars getting higher and higher into the sky still. Lucky old them. So that proves quite interesting. And that's about it for me for this report.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
That was great.
Yeah.
As you said, Roger, the Pleiades at the moment is a very early to mid. Well, I'm going to say early to mid morning. It isn't sort of like you can start seeing the Pleiades from where I am about 2:30. So it'll be about 3-4 o'clock when you'll probably be able to get half a decent image of it. But of course, once you get to that time, we're getting the sun starting to rise. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun and games. Good luck with that one, mate.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, Steve, you were going to say?
Well, I was just going to throw in relation to where Roger started with the Lunar X and the Lunar V. The Lunar X is actually one of the oldest features on the moon. It was formed in I think the Nectarian period, and could well be something like 4 billion years old. The craters, it's the ridges between four craters that formed really early on in the moon's history.
Wow, great. Thank you for that. Interesting. So, Karim and Lou have been attending the Stellafane annual convention. So, gentlemen, do you want to tell us about that? First of all, what is it and where is it?
Absolutely. We actually wanted to bring you with us if we could. We decided that we would do a little bit of a walkthrough of the whole Stellafane experience from it's my third year there. It was Lou's first year there. We both went with our family. I had my wife and my daughter with me, Karima and Tara, and Lou had his wife Susan with him. And so we had an absolute blast, and we're going to walk you through a little bit of the Stellafane experience to come with us. So this is Stellafane. This is Breezy Hill, which was the first part of Stellafane where the convention used to be held. You can see a fabulous pink clubhouse that has a whole history of itself. And this gentleman in the top hat here for the logo is Russell Porter. That's he used to dress very dapper. Lately, we've had a Stellafane East where the actual convention is held. And so here we have a bunkhouse, which you'll see in a bit, a smaller observatory called the Burling Observatory, and then a larger one called the McGregor that has a turret telescope in it. And this is where most of the evening part of Stellafane and a lot of the workshops are held. But Lou and I spent a lot of time up on Breezy Hill as well. So this is kind of the layout so you can see how widespread everything is. This is on a couple of different mountaintops in the heart of the Appalachian Hills, basically the White Mountain area of Vermont in the U.S. Lou, take it over from here.
Yeah, and we should point out that depending kind of on how you count it, we're very close to the 100th anniversary, the centennial for Stellafane, and there are people who have been going to this since the 1950s without fail. So this is a very old, very well established.
So what is Stellafane all about? What's it for? Tell us about it.
It's the largest gathering, at least in the United States, of amateur telescope makers. These are amateur astronomers who get together. They're engineers and scientists who make the most remarkable telescopes, not just mechanically, which is often amazing, but artistically. And they get together and they talk about how to make telescopes, and then they observe the night sky. So it's really something. And this image here is just a picture I took out of my car window. This is Springfield, Vermont, kind of a tiny town, kind of a, hometown USA, nothing too pretentious about it.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a great area to be in because it really is kind of the heart and soul of what Northeast US is like. And these individuals, they were brought together under this passion for just viewing the night sky and an urge to learn the techniques of building telescopes. And now they share it with the world. Their website is one of the premier resources, stellafane.org, on building, grinding your own mirrors, creating a Dobsonian telescope, and just from A to Z, how to work through it.
You know what impressed me most, Karim?
Yep.
Just as I'm thinking about it, the distance between professional and amateur astronomers is getting smaller and smaller.
Absolutely.
And some of the, as we'll show, in some of the techniques and telescopes that were made will just knock your socks off. They're amazing.
So we're going to walk you through a little bit of that. This was a couple of volunteers at the Gatehouse. Bob on the right runs the Friday night program. What's really interesting is the entire convention is run by volunteers. It's not just the people who are there in Springfield as part of the Springfield Telescope Makers Club, but also volunteers from across North America come and volunteer. They show up early. They help to set up. They bring out the porta potties. They get everything set up for the entire weekend of just amazing content.
I asked them how I could get one of those cool T-shirts, and they said, "Well, you have to be a member of the club." I said, "How do I join?" They said, "No, not so fast. You have to be recommended into this brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever." It's a somewhat selective group of astronomers.
Yep. They want to make sure that you will be a part of them and give back as much as you get from them. And so they've actually, they reached out an offer to my daughter to, if I can drive her down to Vermont every single month for the next 8 months, they'll teach her from scratch to build a telescope. And if she actually follows through and does that, and she can't because of her school schedule, but if she was able to, then they would offer her a youth membership into the club.
Very cool.
Wow.
So this is Lou's first impression when he got there on Saturday.
Well, here I am at Stellafane, the nation's largest convention of amateur telescope makers. I'm just walking around the grounds here. Just got here, just got my video equipment set up. Just kind of taking a look. Tons and tons of people are here. Much better, I understand, that than during COVID times, but it's all outside, so that helps. We've got convention tents. We've got swap meets. We've got food. Here's the food tent. And we have talks tonight on amateur telescope making, on light pollution, all kinds of things. So I'm just kind of taking abreast of it. I think we'll go over here and take a look at these gentlemen. Maybe I can get some people on camera.
So this is the souvenir shop. You can see I'm wearing one of the Stellafane t-shirts, and it's just a fantastic setup to have. On the Friday program, when we showed up, the parking is right there on the hill just below where the telescopes are set up for observing, unless you're camping. If you're camping, then you move in and you actually park somewhere closer to the campsites, which are away from all the observing so that there's no light pollution, no crossover there. Where the t-shirt tent is that we just saw, right to its right is a workshop tent where throughout the weekend, Friday and Saturday, they walk you through 1-hour workshops of every single step of grinding your own mirror, polishing it, perfecting it, then building the Dobsonian base, building the truss, building every moment, what you have to measure, how to get a perfectly working telescope yourself from raw materials, and they walk you through all of that. On the Friday afternoons, not only do they have the food tent open for everyone, but they also have a teen program. That's my daughter on the right there just joining into the crowd. This year's teen program was on the James Webb Space Telescope, and they had two sets of teams within the teen program. One team worked on creating a model of the heat shield. The other team worked on actually programming a way to navigate the James Webb so that it turns at the right time and so that it enters into a halo orbit. And they had a small little model of it, and they went out and they put it on a string, and they actually let it out past the moon, and then had the navigating team turn it so that it would slow down and enter an orbit. And it was really neat because every year they have a different topic based on what's currently happening in space exploration. And they bring the teams together for one afternoon. Sometimes it goes the whole weekend. And they really get to see hands-on a little bit of space exploration.
So you can build your own James Webb Space Telescope, can you? For
I would hope
much less money.
Much less money, probably less. The pictures won't be quite as good. Roger won't be featuring those pictures. On Friday night, they had informal talks, and they had asked me to do a two-eyed seeing talk. And at the start of the talk, I mentioned Space Oddities, and I talked about our whole panel approach, and then that Lou and I would be there all weekend. And a lot of people came up to chat with me afterwards about the fact that they love this idea of online outreach. And Lou had created these wonderful business cards for Space Oddities with our panel on the back. And so we handed those out to a bunch of people over the weekend. That night was clear night. It was amazing because it was forecast to be rain on Friday night, but it ended up clear. So my daughter did some iPhone astrophotography. She's part of the Cosmic Generation, which we've mentioned previously. You can go to cosmicgen.org if you are a youth between ages 5 to 18. And they will be doing workshops on iPhone astrophotography. And one of the neat things she figured out, this is a picture of the south. You can see the Milky Way there, gorgeous. And if you're good at it, you can see the teapot, you can see Scorpius. But what she found is, if you take it slightly out of focus, the teapot just pops. Sagittarius is incredibly visible if you take it out of focus.
That's amazing.
I love that. I found that incredible in her pictures when she showed me. And then these two are two of her favorite. I mean, you can see beautifully the astronomers really at work with the sky just majestic above them. And then she got this handheld one where there's these very light star trails as the clouds came in. And I just love that effect. It reminds me of one of the paintings one of my students did a while back.
That's beautiful.
I spent the night with the DSLR camera. And so I have a short snippet to show you a little bit of our view to the south and to the northeast. But both of these are not processed. This is exactly what came out of my DSLR camera. So you can see the teapot, you can see the occasional airplane and satellite, and you could even see one meteor at the start. But looking northeast, while the clouds came in, Andromeda was just absolutely gorgeous right there in the center of the picture.
Yeah, beautiful.
So then we go to Saturday, and Saturday during the day is all about the telescope competition up on Breezy Hill. So you can see here on the right, you have the pink clubhouse. In the very middle, you have a solar telescope, which is a turret telescope. And to the left, you have the field of competition telescopes. And then to our left, outside of this panorama picture, but I have a little image of it down here, is an originally built spectrohelioscope by Porter. This was originally at Mount Wilson, dismantled and left in the basement of a university for about 25 years. And then a few years ago, it was brought back together and painfully restored by volunteers in Vermont to put up here in the Simone Observatory. All throughout the day, even during the judging process, it's open to crowds to come through and see everybody's telescopes as they were built. This is Lou's entrance into Breezy Hill on Saturday.
So here we are at the, I guess I hear it's the original Stellafane site. So Stellafane has expanded quite a bit, and it looks like there's a fair amount of solar observing going on here. All kinds of telescopes. Of course, they're not all pointed at the sun, but this is what these people do. They make telescopes, and they get together and they talk about how to make telescopes.
So I started off at the Visual Solar Telescope. I loved this. It's built in 1930. It's a turret telescope. The visual view is across the spectrum. So it's a white globe that you will see. You can just make out sunspots on the sun. It's not as technically complicated, but the fact that this has been working and viewing the sun daily since 1930, whenever the sun is out, is just incredible to me. And in its foreground is the telescope competition. So Lou, I'm going to flip through the pictures. You want to chat a little bit about what we saw?
Sure. The telescope on the right here, which I thought was stunning. It's like a work of art. I believe the telescope maker and his grandson were there. So when we walked by, his grandson was telling us what he knew about this. It is of course a Dobsonian trust tube Dobsonian telescope on a go-to mount. Absolutely beautiful, and you can see some of the crafting in the pivot there. Just artwork in the pivot and the different designs in the wood. Just amazing.
Beautiful, isn't it? That is a work of art.
Now, this was really interesting to me is we got to see the judging happening. And so these were two telescopes on two completely different style mounts. The one on the left was built by the gentleman who's currently operating it. It's a ball mount, nice, straightforward. The counterweight was not needed because of the way in which it was really balanced well right at the center of the ball. And he was focusing on the top of a tree in order to get the view for the judge himself to check the clarity of the resolution of the image. On the right, you have a young lady who built a similar style Newtonian reflector, but her finder scope was just a groove along the top of the telescope. So first they asked her to focus it on a target they chose, and then she had to actually get the image in, and then they checked the image and they checked the finding to make sure that her finder scope worked. And so she was I believe, 15-year-old who had made this telescope last year over the span of the year at home and put in the design and everything and decided to enter it for competition.
Beautiful, isn't it? Very striking.
And here you have a few reclamation projects as well as some built ones.
The telescope on the far right, go back one.
Yep.
This telescope here, this was I believe this was an old Alvin Clark. So this is a refurbished telescope from ages gone by, an F-15, I think. So this is a telescope where they didn't have coatings for lenses, so which would help all of the colors of light converge at the same place. So they made these telescopes really long so that the difference in the angles between blue light and red light would be minimal.
Absolutely. And the refurbishing of telescopes is a whole category in its own for these competitions. Here you have a equatorial mount that the person built themselves in a machine shop, which is great on the left. And on the right, you have a gentleman who, my wife is a big fan of this gentleman. He gave an informal talk 3-4 years ago, our first Stellafane. And she recognized him right away. And so she came to ask what he had brought, because his talk at that time was making those parallelogram mounts for the binoculars. And what he had this time around was a set of binocular telescopes. And so he agreed to be interviewed. So here's Peter.
Peter Wright from Princeton, New Jersey. And Peter, can you tell us a little bit about the binocular telescopes that you've created here?
Well, this year at Stellafane, I brought 3 different styles of binocular. I emphasize the use of 3D printing. That's how I really make these things into reality after sort of imagining them in your mind. Years ago, when I got interested in astronomy, I did feel that binocular vision really is just different for the brain than a telescope. Doesn't matter how big the aperture, it's still squinting with one eye just did not seem to do it for my
and a lot of targets look better when you actually have that stereo vision.
I remember in the Texas Star Party years ago looking at Omega Centauri, which you can only see from a very southern environment, and it was this big ball of stars. It was just magnificent. But you close one eye and they were kind of all jiggling around. It just was not stable. Whereas with two eyes, it just became this quasi three-dimensional ball of stars, which was just magical and just stupendous. So I've really always focused on building binoculars since that sort of time, all those years ago.
It's all of your parts and pieces. Do you order them?
No, well, these are all 3D printed, so I mean they're ordered. The mirrors are ordered, or the objective lenses, which you can see here. These are 80mm objective lenses. Those are ordered. They're only $30 a piece. They're just simple acromats. You keep the focal length reasonably long. These are f7.5. The chromatic aberration is well controlled at low magnifications. And
So if you're interested in learning more about this,
I remember that. Say that again.
PeterTinkerer.com.
so you can go to petertinkerer.com to learn more about his telescope. And then when Lou arrived, Lou actually went up to Peter and offered to interview him.
He said, "Wait a minute, I think I know you. You're that he's already been interviewed." And I said, "You're with Space Oddities, aren't you?" "Yeah, it's already been done."
So then afterwards, we wandered over to this gentleman. Let me just get this. There we go. And Lou offered to do the Vulcan nerve pinch, but John wasn't up for that. But he was more than happy to be interviewed. So Lou, take it away.
John, meet you again, John. You all set?
Is there any more volume to be had on those videos?
Let me try.
Yeah.
For our Space Odyssey show? Fantastic. John is doing some really high-end stuff.
Is that better?
He has
A little.
Special heliogram.
Still very low.
And what this does is basically what that device back there is doing, except that it's taken a lot of the mechanics and put it onto a computer. So it's made it a lot smaller and simpler. So it's basically a spectroscope. And what you do is you put a camera on there, you take an AVI, and you scan it, and that's what you get when you're done. You wind up getting an image of the sun.
So now, is that in all the visual wavelengths?
Yeah, I've done hydrogen alpha, calcium K, hydrogen beta, aluminum, silicon, iron, helium.
So he's able to get all of the different spectral lines, and he actually has all the absorption lines visible through his telescope. But what Lou got to do after that is he got to go and visit this one. Lou, what did you think of the spectral?
I thought you were going to play the video. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes,
I can play the video first. Let's walk in and see with Lou this amazing device.
So we're about to visit the spectrohelioscope.
Greek name for the sun. So it was actually discovered on the sun before it was discovered on Earth. Okay. So someone was looking. My girlfriend.
Yeah. It's dark in here. How do you see anything?
Over there.
Yes.
That's the eyepiece there.
Element that you want to look. Yes. Yes. And of course here, you're not a surgeon, are you? I got a bit of rotator. I need to fix. Me too. We got an anesthesiologist here that can knock me out. You can do the repair.
I see a piece of wood.
Uh-oh.
Cardiologist too. Yeah, we need one.
It's a very nice
cardiologist too. I know.
Unless it's a really super broad background
My
line.
son's a psychiatrist.
No, I think it's not working right now.
It may not be working.
But otherwise, the light comes
What do you
through
do?
here.
Oh, I see it's clouds. I can see right
Yeah.
here. It's just clouds and pieces of wood.
This is the spectrum.
So let's zoom in a little bit. But Lou, I'll pass it over to you.
Oh, well, I was saying in the later on in the video, I said, by the way, it was a female astronomer who first figured out how the composition of stars and the composition of the sun, and as I was being filmed, I thought, and what's her name again? I had a complete blank. But of course, it's Cecilia Payne,
Yes.
who in 1929 wrote her dissertation, her PhD dissertation, on the composition of stars, and Henry Norris Russell, her thesis advisor, I think, discouraged her from publishing it further. He said that's flies in the face of what we know, which is that what they thought they knew, which is that the Earth and the Sun and all the planets had probably the same composition, and that if you could heat up the core of the Earth, it would have the same spectral characteristics as the Sun. But in fact, Cecilia was right. And it didn't take long, a few years, for people to recognize this. And at one point, the great Otto Struve said that he believed that she had written the most brilliant PhD thesis in astronomy ever. So,
but not only did Russell get credit, he also got the Nobel Prize for the discovery.
Yes. Life isn't always fair, especially in research.
Yeah. And later that night, we got to hear more about these stories from the women astronomers who had made these initial discoveries. But the videographer that you heard going through with Lou was my wife, Karima, and she took a bunch of pictures of the setup of the spectrohelioscope and all of the different parts of it. If you ever get a chance to see one of these devices working, it's an incredible setup. You have the tracking mount that actually follows the sun and focuses the sun ray into the building. The sun ray is then split by a rotating prism, bounces off a couple of mirrors that select out a specific wavelength, and then you get to see the image of the sun in that specific wavelength. And all the other wavelengths are just projected out onto the wall and wasted because you really only care about one wavelength at a time. And with that approach, you can take a full surface image of the sun over the span of a few minutes.
Right, and so this spectroheliograph is very similar functionally to the one that we just saw that the gentleman made and we interviewed. So, but this is a little larger and a little bit more capable, but basically they do the same thing.
And we mentioned that the sun is becoming more active a few episodes ago, and here you have the composite from July 7th, and you can see just how active the sun is compared to this part of the surface from April 22nd. So it is getting more and more active, and you're getting to see prominences and sunspots and everything.
Right. When the clouds cleared and we were able to darken the room a little bit and look through that eyepiece, the prominences were very, very observable, just really remarkable images. Absolutely. Right off the limb of the sun.
And then Saturday night, the program started with this lineup for a chicken dinner, which we partook in, but we got to sit with Lou and his wife while we all ate different dinners. But it was a nice social atmosphere. And then we all got seated up and waiting for the keynote, which was Deva Sobel, talking about building the glass universe. And Lou got a few pictures during her talk.
Right. I had met Deva years and years ago when I gave a talk at the Folger Library in DC on the nature of time, when Harrison's clocks that first figured out longitude were traveling through various museums. And of course, Deva wrote the book Longitude. So we got to listen to her essentially walk us through her book with old pictures that she was able to in some cases, dig up on really famous female astronomers. And so the glass universe is both about the glass plates, the glass photographic plates that these women, many of them whom were called computers, used to do their research, as well as, I think, the glass ceiling that we often see in business that women have such a hard time breaking through. So this was a composé on remarkable women astronomers who really advanced the research.
So this is us towards the evening, waiting for Deva to start her talk. That's Lou and his wife Susan on the left, my wife Karima in the center, myself and my daughter Tara, and then Bill, one of our Montreal members who made the journey down to Vermont with us. And then that night we got to get up on the hill and one more time just get to enjoy a beautiful night sky. Now, those observations, those images, I haven't had a chance yet to do any processing of my own images. Lou posted a few of his on Facebook the other day. But, I mean, Stellafane is incredible because it's both a telescope makers convention, it's a set of workshops, it's a set of talks by just people who are space enthusiasts and astronomy enthusiasts, and it's a dark sky star party, all in one, which just makes the whole drive and the whole visit worth it. Lou, what did you think of your first Stellafane experience?
You know, I used to go to star parties fairly regularly, at least rather locally in the East Coast. I'd go to the York County Star Party most years. But since COVID started, I, of course, haven't gone anywhere. So that alone was magnificent. Just being able to be out there, be with, you know, my peeps, talk astronomy with a lot of people, and of course, see these amazing telescopes. I was impressed with the level of understanding of the physics and the math and the engineering that goes into these scopes. And also just the sheer number of people who are there. This is probably the largest star party I have ever been to. And once Dana's talk began, of course, through the day, people are kind of scattered in the different locations of this large facility. But they all gathered, well, they gathered for Deva, and they gathered for the awards and some other talks. And it was just an enormous gathering of these very passionate people who love the night sky and love building telescopes.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, we all have some star party stories, but also some dark sky stories. Even if you've never been to a star party, just getting out to the dark skies, if you get the opportunity, it's so worth it. I remember on Saturday night at one point, Susan and I were both marveling at the fact that if you looked at Cassiopeia and focused on Cassiopeia, the Andromeda galaxy was absolutely clear. Like, you could see the nebula effect around it. You could see that it was something special in the sky. And if you stared down to the south above Sagittarius's teapot, not only could you see the steam, but you could make out the little bit of color of the lagoon, and you could do that with your bare eyes. So we thought, you know, this is a great moment for all of us to just share a little bit with our viewers what it's like for us to go to a dark sky or to go to a star party and look through other people's telescopes. Who wants to start? Andy, I know you're looking forward to one coming up soon. Did you want to mention it?
Yes, yeah, why not? Indeed. On Saturday, the 27th of August, is the annual Astronomy Ireland Starbecue, for those of you in Ireland, taking place at Wicklow. And I shall be there giving a talk about the next generation of super telescopes that are coming online in the next decade. It's a fun day out for all the family, food, of course, and weather permitting, of course, observing at night. And there will be the biggest telescopes in Ireland there, apparently. So that's the 27th of August. You can get full details on the Astronomy Ireland website, which is astronomyireland.ie. And it'd be great for you to be there, and you can actually buy me a beer if you want to. So there you are. How can you pass up that opportunity? So,
listen to that plug. Listen to that plug. But other than the giving of the talks, what do you get when you're out on the field in the middle of the dark night? And
you get to look through some very big telescopes and chat with like-minded people. So that I think there are 3 talks planned for the evening. And then afterwards, the observing starts and goes on until everybody's fed up. So that's it, basically.
We got to look through a 25-inch Dob, which was like with a ladder, of course, to get to the eyepiece, like climbing the stairway to heaven. It never ended. And I think we got to look at the Veil Nebula. It was just stunning. I mean, it almost brought tears to my eyes.
Wow. I'd love to have seen that.
On the Friday night, I set up my Dob on Lagoon, and I was so proud of getting a really nice view of Lagoon in the Dob, because I always look at it in binoculars. And I showed my wife, and she loved it. Then she went off for a walk. She came back, said, "I saw the Lagoon through a 20-inch telescope. That was magnificent. Yours is nothing." I was sorry. I'm so hurt. So you get spoiled a little bit.
I do think it's so valuable to attend these events, though. They are just so enjoyable. I used to go to something called Astro Camp every year, which is was held in the Ashdown Forest in East Sussex. And that was 2 weeks in August to coincide with the Perseids. And it was just an unbelievable experience. We just brought tents, camped. There was a shower block there. Just spend the day, you know, sleeping basically and staying up all night to either observe the Perseids or get your telescopes out, as it were.
Yeah, because it's always worthwhile attending these. If you ever see a local event going on, it could be in the centre of a town, but if you can go to one which is in a very dark sky area, you'll find everybody's there for exactly the same reason as you are. There's all levels of experience there. So, and also people are just so helpful. As Andy said, you can just wander around the field, look through different telescopes at different objects. And people are always so willing to help you and bring you forward. And this is what outreach is all about, is that you've got a small interest which could balloon. Beware of aperture fever, remind you of that. But people will bring you on. I mean, it's just simple things, like aligning, and if you've got a question, they will be able to help you. And of course, it's not just telescopes. There's people there who do nightscape photography. So you've got people just there with DSLRs with, you know, different size lenses, different techniques. They won't tell you all their secrets, but the thing is, they will tell you how to set your cameras up, and what to be looking for. Again, you saw the binoculars, and I was wowed at the fact that the 3D prints them. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. See, that's something I've never sort of even thought of. Yeah, it's just something that if you never be shy to go. It's the same going to your local astronomy association or club. Don't be shy to go, because there's always somebody there who will take you by the arm and just guide you through things. And once you get used to them, you'll find, you know, why didn't I do this earlier? And most nights, most clubs have got some dark area. And even if you haven't got your own transport, somebody will give you a lift out there, and they'll set up their telescopes into a dark area, and you'll just be amazed and you'll be hooked. Always take a flask with you. Lights must always be red. There's nothing worse than everyone just gets their eyes adapted and all that, and then somebody turns on a white torch. You're not very popular, but it's just these things that you've got to learn. Just do a little bit of research of etiquette and things like that, like the red torch, which is the main one, because you can ruin everybody's evening by shining a red torch. And never use a flash when you're taking photographs. You'll soon become very unpopular. But these places are fantastic.
In fact, talking of research, if you actually Google, for those of you in the UK, if you actually Google UK star parties, the first hit is a directory of UK star parties. So you can go and see if there's one near you and get the details and go and have some fun. And, you know, it doesn't matter what your level of knowledge of astronomy is. You don't even have to have a telescope. Just go along and chat with people and look through some telescopes and learn a bit more about your hobby. And you won't regret it. I promise you.
And you know, Daz was mentioning the Perseids. When you go out during meteor showers, it's incredible to just hear the oohs and ahs going through the hillside.
I remember going to a star party up in on the Lancashire-Yorkshire border at the Astronomy Centre in the 80s, and although it was a really good site for observing, I had my first experience of the aurora borealis.
Oh,
really? That was there, and that was at that latitude. You know, it was just incredible.
You said on, sorry, Michael, carry on.
Sorry?
I was just going to say, you said on the Lancashire-Yorkshire border.
Yeah, it's called the Astronomy Centre. It was set up originally by Peter Drew. I don't know.
I thought you were talking about the War of the Roses when you were there.
Oh no. Pure coincidence, Daz.
Yeah. Of course, with the aurora, it's surprising how far south they do occasionally come. So always. Just stick a camera out. If you've got a clear night, stick a camera out, focus it, and it's always the focusing's the main thing. If you can get a nice sharp image and then just put it on a timer and just let it go, and you're bound to pick up something.
I mean, I was using the film DSLRs at the time, and but as soon as I saw the aurora come, I just wanted to stand there and watch it. I didn't want to bother with the camera because I'm you know, the old film days, it was a bit hit and miss whether you get anything.
The message we want to promote is that it's not difficult.
Yeah.
The image behind me was my my Android cell phone on a 15-second shutter.
Yeah.
I sat it on the ground, let it point up. That was it, and there it is. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
It's also
hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be doing a basic backyard photography chat. So hopefully you'll be able to see what you can actually achieve with a simple DSLR and a variety of lenses. But even with a standard 50mm lens, it's surprising what you can catch.
Absolutely.
And if you've got your focusing right, you can do cropped images, and you'll pick up things like the Pleiades, in the northern hemisphere, the Andromeda galaxy, and the double cluster in Perseids and things like that. So simple. And once you start to learn to star hop, you can point the camera anywhere and you'll be surprised what you can pick up. Just basic. You don't even have to process them afterwards. You can just, as Karim did, just bring on the photographs. And the Milky Way is an easy one, as long as you've got a fairly dark sky.
Steve had something to add.
Well, I was just going to say, as your daughter Tara's photo showed, which was slightly out of focus, and most of mine are out of focus all the time. But quite often that enhances the intensity, the brightness in the stars, and also the colour differentiation. Moreover, so even if you don't get a perfect image, don't worry, it'll still be good.
I could not believe how.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Wasn't that the technique that David Mamin used to enhance the colours of the stars when he wrote his book, The Colours of the Stars? Defocus the image.
Yeah, because that was one of my tips was going to be if you want to see the colours of the stars, and also you can pick out the constellations better as well, because just taking it out of focus seems to make the bright stars brighter, so you'll see things. And this is one of the things I'll probably be talking about. But also out of focus, just slightly out of focus, on a long exposure, and if you've got some clouds whipping through, you can get some really nice atmospheric shots. It doesn't always have to be spot on. I've taken photographs of the moon embedded in clouds, and then just usually you get a sort of a rainbow effect around in some of the clouds and all the different colors, which come out more in the camera because the camera's far more sensitive. And you just use your imagination. I mean, to me, they look like protostars that are just pushing away their birthing clouds of dust and gas and things like that. Just use a bit of imagination. And another tip, which I will be also show you to do, is when you get Sirius arise, it really scintillates, which means it really flickers and glints. And even with the naked eye, you can see colours. Colours of the stars that Andy just put up. And if you put your camera on a tripod, and you could actually record a video, and you'll see this scintillating, and it'll just be a traffic light. It'll be like a disco light going.
Disco ball,
different colours, and also, if you then put it on sort of like 10 seconds or something like that, and then just tap the actual camera, you can actually get these star trails, and they're all. And as you look at it, it's like a load of fireworks all going off all over the place. I do it quite often when I can see it pops up and you've got a clear sky, and it's just something. There are different things you can do just to make it more interesting.
I think Mary would say you don't even need to tap the camera; you just need a cat running in between the tripod legs. I think Bernard had something to add as well as Roger.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that Andy, I followed your URL that you gave, and then I quickly found there's a Astro Camp in Wales in the Brecon Beacons in September, and
that's right. I've heard of that.
I'm just logging in, and I see that they still have spaces. So I'm definitely gonna take my daughter and wife there because it's 1 hour and a half away from us.
That's such a beautiful area as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, that's great. It's definitely something, we all lead busy lives, and sometimes we just need to be reminded of these things.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Roger?
Well, obviously, when I did my presentation, the Milky Way, that was just done with an APS-C wide camera and a tripod just stuck facing south, and each of those images was just a single JPEG, and then just fitted in to make it into a video, and that's as easy as it can get. So
but this is the beauty of modern technology. I mean, when I used to go to Astro Camp with an SLR with film, you know, you wouldn't know for a week or so whether you'd actually got anything, you know, and I was so chuffed when I caught my first Perseid on film. I was jumping around the room, even though it was quite a fake one, but I got it. I was actually got a Perseid. And talking about the colors of the stars, I got a beautiful image of star trails, which show the colors of the Milky Way, and the colors are absolutely so varied and so rich.
We were astonished because with the DSLR, I can catch some of these things like, you know, alberio, and you can catch the colors and everything. But with the handheld iPhone, my daughter not only caught the colors of alberio, she caught the coat hanger. You could see the shape of it.
Really?
And that was just with the handheld iPhone for about a 10-second exposure. And the things you can do now with devices, star trails, if you take enough of the shots like what Roger has behind him right now, you can get a beautiful star trail
there, actually.
Wow. Yeah.
I see the whole universe revolves around your head, Roger.
Yes, of course.
Roger, which software do you use for your star trail stacking? Do you do it straight in Photoshop or Lightroom, or do you actually use one of the others?
Well, I'm using a Mac, although it is available on the PC. It's a free software called StarStax, StarStax. And all you do is put a sequence of pictures in, and it'll automatically make a star trail from the collection of pictures that you've done, and you get an output like the one you see behind me.
Yeah, I've got StarStax.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So maybe for the next couple of weeks, Rachel might get some more images of wide field nightscape photography, star trails, you name it. We encourage everyone to try and get out to a dark sky if you're able to. I know I'm going to enjoy this last weekend's experience for the rest of the summer because I don't think I'm getting out again until September. So definitely take some time. Lou, any closing thoughts on Stellafane?
Well, it made a difference. It made a difference that we were in a very dark site. And if you all are looking for a dark site and you don't know where to go, the let's see, the ADA, the American Dark Sky Association, has a website, and they will show you where the dark sites are near you. And believe me, it makes an enormous difference.
Also, if you're looking at websites, the other good site is gostargazing.co.uk, and that lists a lot of the dark skies in the UK.
And here in Canada, the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada has dark sky preserves across the country that we help to keep dark, if at all possible. Daz?
Yeah, I was just thinking we're getting on a little bit now, so I'd just like to pop through some of the live chat that we've been having. Paul Hallsworth Nightscapes, he said, going back to the JWST and the images we were looking at of Jupiter, he said he'd love to see a JWST images of Schumacher-Levy 9 when it impacted Jupiter. Hubble Space Telescope was pretty cool at the time, but JWST would be fantastic. And of course it would be. You can imagine that.
I can tell Paul that David Levy made the exact same observation on Thursday when I drove through his retreat in the Adirondacks and was chatting with him. He said that he wishes that he had more time with James Webb when he was a younger man and could have enjoyed seeing some of those images.
And James Webb, of course, didn't take images of Shoemaker-Levy, but the IRTF, the Infrared Telescope Facility on Mauna Kea, did. So we do have infrared images, 5 micron and other images of the collisions with Jupiter.
Yeah, nice. And on your item about Stellafane, it's a no-no. Said yes, the distance between Pro and Am is getting smaller. Saw that when NASA showed it used Pixelite to process their flagship JWST images. Also, Paul Holsworth again. The ingenuity of those amateur telescope makers is phenomenal. I sometimes read in ATM column of Sky and Telescope, and it blows my mind what these guys design and produce with such stunning attention to detail. So yeah, there's, like I said, just get out there, have a look, see what else you need. Just look at, there's plenty of apps out there, no matter what country you are in, and you will find dark skies advertised somewhere. And just pop along and have a look.
Yeah.
Here's a recent book that I've just got, which is done by Brant. It's called Dark Skies, Britain and Ireland, Stargazer Sites, and it gives you all the recommended areas around the UK on where you can go to get these beautiful, clear, dark, clear skies. And it's a good read, and can't really see it very well.
Great.
Talking about,
anyway.
sorry, just wanted to mention, talking about the capabilities of amateur astronomers. Let's not forget that in UK, the second biggest telescope made available to the public, which is in the Sherwood Observatory, was built entirely by amateur astronomers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they've just remounted a new mirror that they've ordered. So the capabilities of that telescope is still really strong and really ongoing, and just to show you again what amateur astronomers can do.
Maybe we need to reframe this. Maybe they're not amateur astronomers. Maybe they're just astronomers.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, it seems that we could have quite a good list of resources for this sort of thing, for star parties and whatever. So guys, can I ask if you've got anything, put it in the chat, and I'll add it to the description of this video when it's processed by YouTube tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. So,
and there's also just been some talk about how far south people have seen called the aurora, Cambridgeshire, Bedfordshire, and places like that. I know in the 80s there was a time when I was actually on the south coast of England, and the aurora was actually spotted there. So that was an amazing night, that was.
Yeah. So guys, if you've got any resources that we should list for this this show, put them in the Discord. I'll pick them up from there, and we can have a nice little list of resources to put in the description of the video. Okay, so unfortunately, well, not unfortunately for us, but fortunately for her, Rachel is on holiday in Gozo at the moment. So I'm afraid there's no viewers gallery this week. We'll hold that over till Rachel returns. And do keep sending in your images, because we love seeing them and seeing how you've done them, and much appreciated indeed. So Rachel, we hope you're having a fantastic holiday and getting loads of images to show us when you come back. So so there you are. Right, guys, well, I think that just about brings the evening to a close. We did have some news, but there were various astronomical and space news, but we'll hold that back till next week. It's nothing terribly urgent. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back, of course, next Monday, same time, 8 p.m. UK time, with another show. And we'll carry on bringing the universe to you. So from the panel, thanks so much for being here.
Don't forget to hit the like.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. We much appreciate that. It doesn't
and look up.
Thank you, everybody.
And
keep look up. Keep looking up.
Keep looking up.
Keep looking up. All right, guys. Take care. Have a fantastic week. We'll be back.
Thank you
next
very
week.
much.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye then.
Bye. Right. That's it.